This episode is proudly brought to you by the Afrocentric Group, Southern Africa's most diversified healthcare group, building a winning health offering. Hello and welcome to another edition of AI Impact Talk with me, Thembekile Mrototo, coming to you from our brand new studios. We're back with another fascinating conversation looking at tech, in particular artificial intelligence in the country. And we've just been commemorating, if you will, Youth Day recently, Youth Month, all of June, and we're looking at the challenges faced by young people in South Africa. And our guest today is someone who's actively involved, in particular, in trying to deal with the skills shortage, which will also help to alleviate South Africa's unemployment crisis. I'm talking about Tinyiko Simbine, who is the co-founder of GirlCode, joining us on AI Impact Talk today. Tinyiko, welcome. Good to have you with us. Youth Month, and I was just touching on your focus and the work that you're doing with young people, with GirlCode. Let's go back to the vision and what you sought out to do, perhaps with GirlCode, and where you are now.
Absolutely. So how GirlCode started essentially was after we attended a couple of hackathons with my co-founder, and after attending the hackathons, or when attending the hackathons, we found that there were no girls at these hackathons, which made no sense because when we were in varsity, there were women who were studying computer sciences. So where are they? Why are they not creating, technology and competing against, their male counterparts and each other? And then we decided to host our very own hackathon at the tech company that she was working at the time. And at the time, we thought nothing of it, right? We didn't think, okay, let's do anything formal, and we just hosted an all-female hackathon.
It was a once-off
It was just a once-off thing, just to raise awareness and just to see what these girls could, build. And then the following year, people started calling us and asking us, when is the next GirlCode hackathon? I'm like, what do you mean?
So you created demand in an instant,
essentially, right? And then fast forward a few years later, and we actually had the success of hosting the largest all-female hackathon in the country. And, through that recognition in 2018, then we thought, okay, you know what, clearly, there's something real here. Why not, formalize the organization and actually start teaching as well, outside of just hosting hackathons, as much as hackathons do raise a lot of awareness and help showcase skills of these young ladies. And fast forward 11 years later, GirlCode is a social enterprise that aims to empower young girls and women through technology. And how we go about achieving this is by teaching coding and robotics to girls and women of different ages, and then affording them job opportunities at the end of the programs.
And what was interesting to see when I looked you guys up is that how from that once-off event, you've now developed basically an entity that even has broken down things into themes, right? So that these young women who come in can basically sort of figure their way out in terms of what is out there and what speaks to their own interests.
Absolutely. And hence why one of our programs is a 12-month software development program. Here we take unemployed matriculants who didn't have an opportunity to go to varsity and basically, take them from basic computer literacy skills right up to junior software developer. And during this program, the girls are exposed to various industry experts, be it cybersecurity, data scientists. And during these 12 months, they then, able to decide for themselves as to which element of technology they'd like to get into. And, not just be cocooned in a box as much as they would be learning coding, but then they can then decide and actually get exposed to the various fields within software development.
I use the word interest, but you also speak to need in what you do, because when you look at the unemployment figures just released recently, you still have a better chance at getting employment if you have a university qualification, slightly better if you've got a matric. But we also live in a country where we can't be blind to the socioeconomic reality of the people who don't have either of those qualifications. And that's where you then are able to intervene quite significantly.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty, right, of coding is that the skills that we teach you, you can use to start a business within your community. It doesn't even have to be something grand, start by building a simple website for your church, for, the person who owns the spaza shop near your house, which is just a few houses away from where you live. And that's the beauty of coding as well as coding skills. As much as another gap that we are trying to target through our 3-month online bootcamp by taking unemployed STEM graduates and upskilling them with technical skills that companies are looking for. Because as you've just mentioned, having a matric or a degree or a diploma gives you that slight, advantage, but it's still not enough because coding is about what you can build and not just about the qualifications. So having those skills has helped a lot.
You can never be too skilled, am I right, Tinyiko? Because it's also an environment that is constantly changing. I mean, I remember when coding was introduced in schools, even those of us who had matriculated in the 2000s, 2010s were like, wow, what a way we've come from when we all just learned to switch on a computer and worked on very elementary programs. But here we are now.
Absolutely. And, with coding, it's so vast and ever changing that literally a tech stack that you learned a month ago can actually be relevant by next month. So you can never, be overly skilled. The key is to constantly evolve.
Every day is a school day,
Every
a friend
day
of
is
mine says.
absolutely, and that's the beauty of this environment and space is that you need to constantly also be willing to learn, which is something we instill in our girls who come through our programs to constantly upskill themselves and understand that learning is a lifelong journey.
And when they come in, what are their expectations, especially the younger Black women who may come from an environment where women like you did not exist until they've approached an organization like yours and said, I actually wish to enroll?
Absolutely. So many of the women who come through our programs basically expect us to teach them, upskill them, and then find them employment opportunities, which is our primary goal at GirlCode. And with that need in mind, hence why we then partner with various corporates where we have women, Black women who are in leadership positions, come forward, meet our girls and tell their story because, we believe as an organization that you do thrive more when you can relate to someone who looks just like you and you do relate better to someone who looks just like you. So we bring in these women as a form of inspiration to show them that, what, it doesn't matter what background you come from, but you too can be the MD of, a very big corporate one day, and anything is possible. Hence why we also have entrepreneurs who are doing well in their journeys to also come share their journeys, because something that we've realized in our country is that entrepreneurship isn't very big as yet, but looking at the very high unemployment stats, we need to start deviating and pushing our youth to basically start their own businesses and employ other people and hence contributing towards the economy.
On that point, would you say then that the jobs of the future are in tech entrepreneurship?
Absolutely. I would say they are in tech entrepreneurship as well as tech in general. Let's not take that away, but within a South African context, absolutely, tech entrepreneurship and the opportunities are there.
And we've spoken a lot since the start of AI Impact Talk about innovation, right? And out of need, you see sometimes genius actually sprout up. And South Africa has not been lacking in that sense. Do you encourage that as well for the girls and young women to think outside the box?
Yes, so we do, especially when it comes to our GirlCode Hackathon. As much as there is a theme where they need to build within using the UN sustainability goals, we do encourage them to build within a South African context. Like our previous, in our previous hackathon, we had a lot of solutions being built around GBV. We know that this is a very important topic in our country, and the girls came up with very amazing solutions, using different tech stacks. But again, we do not box them. So the world is, their oyster essentially, and we let them run wild during that 48 hours.
And for Youth Month, I was looking at your theme. In fact, you were talking about skills for the changing world, empowering youth for meaningful economic participation, which ties in to our very conversation.
Yeah.
When you look at it, I mean, we're halfway through the month now, but do you think it's landing? Are you seeing the fruit?
Yes, the beauty about our youth is that they're hungry for opportunities, willing to learn. Girls want to take up space, and we're here to help them take up, that space and build, technology for women. As you mentioned, technology is evolving, and AI is becoming a very big thing, and we do need women contributing towards the building of that technology, because a woman would know how to build technology for women, and this will also help impact, build a more inclusive economy for our country and have women participating in building technology, not only for our country, but for Africa as a whole as well.
And you've got a stunning goal where you want by 2030 to have worked with or skilled or upskilled about 10 million girls and women. It's an incredible goal. And you're actually well on your way. I mean, you've already worked with 100,000?
Absolutely. Yes, we've got a very big and audacious goal to empower 10 million young women and girls across Africa. And what has helped us is pivoting. COVID obviously happened, and we were all forced to pivot, and we then were forced to have our programs online. This has then helped us to scale across the provinces in the country, but also across Africa as a whole, and reach larger audiences. And even last year, we had the success of hosting our first Pan-African hackathon, and we were in Botswana as well as Kenya. So, and this year we're looking forward to adding more African countries to the list.
And what's that like when you bring together groups from different countries, similar but also very different, I'd imagine, perspectives and realities, right?
Very, very different, especially once you realize where the tech landscape is and how it differs from each country, right? But it then raises an opportunity for us to close a gap in that specific country, whilst also closing the gaps in our own country. So it helps us to learn, especially from the African countries who are also more advanced than us, and helps us to bring back that knowledge.
Each one teach one?
Absolutely.
And you mentioned right at the beginning that you've been able to strike up partnerships or relationships, let's say, with the bigger corporates. I take that, and I want to go back to when you guys went to that function over a decade ago, and you went, where are the women? Are women being taken more seriously in the space?
Yes, women are being taken more seriously. Hence why now we're seeing a rise in women leadership positions. Yes, it's not enough. But we are getting there. Corporates are taking that initiative, even by supporting organizations such as GirlCode. It shows that they do believe in our passion, and as well as the need to have a very gender inclusive economy, as well as tech space. So I would say yes.
And the boot camps, when I arrived here for our conversation, someone said to me, I'm tempted to go on a boot camp. I'm not sure I'm at the right age, but I'm ready to sign up for this. Do they fall into part of this 12-month program? Or can people come in for shorter stints, for instance?
Yes. So with the 3-month online bootcamp, these are primarily for unemployed STEM graduates. We then, use those 3 months to upskill them with soft skills as well as technical skills to get them employed or make them more employable. And then we do have short courses for women who, let's say, studied media, journalism, communications, and are looking to basically start a career in tech or just find out what is tech about, So we do have those short courses. We have an introduction to web. We even have short courses for the younger demographic, kids who are under the ages of 18, just for them to start playing with technology as well. So we do cater for everybody, and there's no age limit when it comes to our online short courses, yeah.
Well, the unnamed person shall be very relieved that there's no age limit. From then, do you measure the success in terms of the work via or based on the intake, or how many of the girls and women actually go on to find employment or to create their own? And have you been able actually to take a sample of that?
Absolutely. So monitoring and evaluation is very big for us as an organization, as well as for the corporates who do sponsor us. So yes, we measure both those who have been trained and those who have, found employment, because we try to set ourselves apart from other training providers where we don't just want to upskill the young ladies and just let them be. We do want to ensure that, we find them job opportunities, or at least help them start their own businesses as well. So we absolutely do track that information and keep track of all the ladies who have been through our programs, even those who haven't been successful in finding opportunities. We do keep in constant communication with them and give them, various opportunities to get more exposure and yeah,
Keep them
keep
encouraged
them
as well.
encouraged. Yes.
So where does AI tie into what you're doing? Because for those of us looking from a distance, sometimes you don't know if is it all the same thing or are these all separate elements? We are coding. They're talking about AI. In there, there are chat GPT type conversations. You've got these chat bots, etc. But you've also got things that are far more advanced that are being used at an industrial level. Even then you go, is it all the same?
Yes. So the short answer is no, it's not all the same. As much as it's all technology and software development, it's not the same. However, AI is where it's at, and hence why the importance of getting females involved and building technology, because AI is essentially built on what we feed it. So the data needs to be as accurate as possible, and we need, technology built for a Black woman by a Black woman. And as an organization, we will be implementing AI courses, and there's a very big demand now that we are shifting in that direction, on top of the Python as well as the C# skills that we are currently providing. But yes, it's not necessarily the same thing, but they each kind of need each other.
Like the one needs the other to function at its best. Do you see unique opportunities just based on who and what South Africa is?
Yes, absolutely. There are quite a bit of unique opportunities, especially because of where we are economically as a country. This gives the youth, a chance to help better the country for those coming after them and for us who are currently living within this landscape. And because technology doesn't limit, where you can go, what you can build, that just makes it even more exciting, especially now with AI, because with AI, it does enable much easier building. Obviously, we do not encourage taking shortcuts, but if you can get somewhere quicker through the help of a tool, then why not? So from that perspective, if you look at all the challenges we're currently facing, that's where I would say a lot of the opportunities will come from, actually.
And to circle back to where we started, when you mentioned the idea of these hackathons that you also host, how does that tie into the conversation, and at what level would one have to be able to participate?
Yes. So in order to participate in a GirlCode hack, you need to be first a female between the ages of 18 and 35, and either in your final year or a graduate, looking to learn from others, because the biggest thing is for them to network, learn from each other, make new connections as well, and basically come together for a weekend, build technology to solve a problem within the South African context, and then having the possibility of having that, prototype taken forward by a sponsor or a corporate, so that, they can actually build a whole business around it, which will then also lead to more employment and them getting out of the poverty or disadvantage areas that they currently come from.
And what about collaboration post the program? Are you seeing a lot of your, shall we say, alumni themselves then linking up and saying, actually, here's what I've got. What do you have, Tinyiko, and how do we make the two work together?
So yes, I'll actually give a practical example of this. So 4 of our alumni, they were from our 2022 software development learnership. They then came together to basically build a mentorship platform for girls to basically access for people and corporates to basically run a mentorship program through that specific platforms. These girls had just met at the beginning of the program, and post the program through the skills that they had learned and through the various companies where they were placed for employment opportunities, then decided to come together and build this wonderful platform. Yeah.
That's amazing, though, because that's being able to see the legacy, right? Carried forward in a different way to birth,
Exactly.
once again, a platform that ultimately gives back.
Yes, absolutely. And at GirlCode, we're very big on, our girls paying it forward. And which also comes almost as a natural instinct because women are, caregivers, nurturers, and will naturally give back. But that is our primary message. Pay it forward, take it back to the townships where you're staying, upskill your nieces, your neighbors, let's pass on that knowledge and each one teach one.
And how accessible, Tinyiko, are you guys? By accessibility, I mean, you and I are speaking today in Johannesburg, where it's quite urban, right? So people can make means to reach you in some way, either physically or by phone. Could the same be done by someone in Dudjwa in the Eastern Cape, someone in Bloemfontein, for example?
Yes, so they would through our social media. We are aware that we live in the age of social media currently. So we do not have physical offices around the country, only in Johannesburg, Midrand to be precise. However, our students who are from other provinces have reached us through our social media. We do have a very big social media following and reach, as well as through our website. And what has helped also is them having community centers within the rural areas where they can go up onto a computer and sign on to stuff, and as well as doing interviews like this, helps us to get word out there and reach audiences that we normally wouldn't be able to reach on a normal day. But essentially, I would say yes, those who have the infrastructure, absolutely.
There are ways.
There are ways to get a hold of us.
And from when you started, just over a decade ago, to this point, I don't imagine it's been smooth sailing, but what keeps you going? What keeps you so committed to the goal?
Primarily knowing that we're changing lives on a daily basis and upskilling girls and giving them something that no one can ever take away from them. And knowing that there's also an opportunity for them to pay it forward for the next girl. So a practical example of this would be the 8 girls who are now living and working in the UK. One of the girls was from a village in Limpopo, and her mom was unemployed. Her son wasn't in school. And for me, it's that generational change because now her child, is living overseas and getting first world education. So the impact isn't just, one dimensional, but it's changed in so many ways. And she's also gone back to the village to start, upskilling other girls within that village. So
Also,
knowing
the coding experience now being passed on.
Absolutely. So for me, that keeps me going, and knowing that you've changed someone's life in that way, and they continue to change other people's lives. There's no better feeling, honestly.
Just how young, actually, are the girls who come through your doors?
Yeah. So the girls who come through our doors are as young as 8. Yes, but
8
can
years
start
old.
younger. Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, it also requires, I would imagine, a level of skill and patience because an 8-year-old's mind is such a beautiful, carefree space that their needs are different to those of an 18-year-old and a 28-year-old. So you guys would have to be able to adapt your approach through each decade.
Absolutely. And how we go about by achieving this is, so with our younger demographics, we use a lot of graphic. We use a program called Scratch where, there's a cat there and we tell them, okay, make the cat move 2 blocks to the left. So we make it as interactive as possible, as you've mentioned, that obviously their level of thinking is a little bit different, but they're the best group to work with because, they haven't been much, they haven't been affected by the perceptions that girls don't belong in technology.
It's a blank canvas, right?
Absolutely. Blank canvas. So now we can literally, teach them anything, and they're hungry. Then their minds are like sponges. So you can literally give them so much knowledge at such a young age so that by the time they are 18, they're really competing on an international level.
They're ready to move to the UK.
Absolutely.
And that's how you guys do it.
That's how we do it.
And we spoke, yes, there is this big goal to get about 10 million girls and women skilled in the coding and tech space by 2030. But for GirlCode, Tinyiko, what is the broader, perhaps, objective, even from a legacy level, in a changing world of work, in a changing tech space?
Yeah, no, I mean, for GirlCode, the vision is essentially to have a safe space for girls and women all over Africa to come in and learn, but not just learn, but also build technology in towards building a better Africa, so that we can also one day have our own Silicon Valley here. Why do we have to go across, to the States to go to Silicon Valley when we've got the capabilities, the skills as well to have our very own Silicon Valley here?
Really good to talk to you, Tinyiko Simbine. Thank you so much for being with us. Co-founder of GirlCode, speaking to us about the incredible work they are doing in terms of getting girls and women into the tech space. Skills, very important. They're coding at the heart of it. The big goal, if you're watching this as a young woman, to reach about 10 million of you by 2030. So if you know a girl or a young woman who's interested, or if you are one, these are the people to speak to. Thank you so much for watching this edition of AI Impact Talk with me, Thembekile Mrototo. See you soon. Bye-bye. This episode is proudly brought to you by the Afrocentric Group, Southern Africa's most diversified healthcare group, building a winning health offering.